this is a response video to Northwest Preppers. He's got that trailer set up, and this is the inside of mine. I've shown it in a couple other videos. Yeah, it's still a mess, but just a couple little alternatives in response to the way he's got the interior on that trailer set up, which I think is pretty good. But with my rig, I really wanted this thing to maintain its multi-role deal. So the way I set this up is I bought it from a guy who was an adventure camper. So he already had like some shelves in the front, and that's where it's curved, and you gotta have some heavy duty stuff up here, because if the load shifts and shoves its weight to the front, it can actually push through the rig. Now, what I'm slowly doing here is getting this thing more roadworthy. If I were to try and roadworthiness right now, stuff would fall off of these cabinets. It would probably fall off these shelves. It'd be a mess. So this isn't exactly the way I roll, but it's going to be pretty close to it. A lot of it has to do with getting some sort of a net thing or bungee thing stretching across here, hold all this stuff up here while I'm on the road. The idea is I've got a walkway aisle through the middle right now, but if I'm going to go mobile again, a lot of this stuff that's up high gets set down in the walkway, and then some equipment that I have outside the trailer would get set down in this middle area. What I did was I built all of these benches. I've made them all where they come in at the same height, like I think it's around 31.5 inches, something like that. But I make them where they all come in at really close to the same height, so that when they're set up next to each other, they can be one continuous bench. The other thing is, everything here that's behind this little front cabinet is on wheels. So all this stuff can roll out the back on a ramp, even though that's a double opening door, it's not a ramp door. I can roll all this stuff out on a ramp, set it up under the initial shelter. That becomes a workshop space, and then when I'm ready to go to another location, everything gets loaded up and we go. And then a lot of stuff up here that's hanging has to do with that issue that it can still be there when I'm rolling down the road. If this shakes, that stuff just kind of moves around. It's all hanging. So that's what I did. But the trick is that those hooks don't get in the way of cargo. See, they're above this curvature line here. So if I go someplace and I empty this out, I set up the initial tents and awnings to be the initial workspace. Almost all these tools are cordless. The few plug-in wall pieces of equipment I have can run off this 2,000 watt inverter. The only things that won't run on that 2,000 watt inverter is really high powered worm drive saw that I have back here. I really don't use it that much either. That seems to choke on the inverter. That would be a generator only item. Same with these welders. I plug these in, and right now, because the garage is full of stuff, I have a power cord running to a dryer outlet inside the house. But if it's not raining out, I prefer to do the welding outdoors. It's just that I've been working on that tent, that other awning project for another guy you'll see in another video. The idea is that all those awning and tent work areas can be inside here, carried out, and then set up. But a lot of that stuff I can keep on the roof rack too. And the trailer is set up with a full roof rack. I'll show in another segment. But my contribution to this is mostly the cordless power tools, and of course I built the benches. Some other guys have pitched in for some of the hand tools. The mechanic tool set was kind of a pitch in. And since nobody wanted to take full responsibility for the whole thing, it's more important to have a complete set of tools and have the very best. So what we did was we kind of agreed to buy either flea market stuff or Harbor Freight stuff. And that's actually worked out pretty well. One of my roommates been doing a lot of work on his car. We didn't have a whole lot of money invested in this because those guys have been really hesitant to pitch in. But it's done okay with this Harbor Freight stuff. Again, more important to have a complete set of tools than it is to have the very best of something. And And so, yeah, a lot of this is Harbor Freight. We just kind of made a commitment that if we got to do some work, if you want to use the toolbox, you got to pitch something in on it. And it's not very expensive. Except that there are some electronic stuff here. You know, it's just you know, a decent basic toolbox to get some stuff pitching in. One of the ways I built up some of this was buying some stuff at garage sales liquidation, where you buy a whole toolbox and then just sell off the junk really cheap, you know, 50 cents a tool or whatever, and it keeps some of the stuff that's a little better. And of course I put a heavy duty top on this so that it's the same height as these other benches. And then you know, a lot of the cordless I shop pawn shops and all that kind of stuff, yard sales. A lot of it I ended up buying new by selling some other stuff and then buying it. Like sell other stuff on eBay as I'm downsizing other junk. I'm buying tools for the mobile workshop for the off-grid retreat stuff. But this is basically my contribution to the Lifeboat on a lot of issues. And one of the people brought up, you know, he said, well, you know, does this mean you know, somebody who doesn't bring something in eats less? To a degree, yeah. You know, I hate to say it, but when you know, what was a White Star or something like that, shipping lines was selling tickets on the Titanic, you know, I don't know how to say it nicely, but if you know, they talk about being cruel and mean and vicious, but you know, space on a lifeboat goes to people who pay for the lifeboat. Okay, that's reality, boys and girls. This stuff costs money. Those of us who have pitched in on it had to give up other aspects of our lives to have this. Our lives probably could be more fulfilling if we spent this on booze, hookers, and drugs. But the reality is we're looking out for the future. And I'm not going to badmouth or downtrod somebody who's got a good-looking resume as far as survival stuff goes. But you know what? You got to pitch in. You got to get involved. You got to be bringing something to the table. I understand if it's not stuff that you're bringing to the table, okay? But even at that, like your personal stuff that's really your personal stuff, okay, you still have a right to own that. You know, like this is my Camelback, okay? It's mine. Now, I would loan it to somebody, but I'm not giving it away, okay? But one reason I've made a commitment for my contribution on other people's survival stuff to be this kind of thing is because I know I got to bring something to the table, and one of the things I personally am not going to get involved with is paying the money for the real estate. Okay, I think real estate's overpriced. I can have my rig set up. I can go out to low value real estate and or even no cost real estate and put out the solar panels, put up the tarps and awnings, pull my camper out there, and I could be pretty darn productive off-grid on zero-cost real estate. So for me to put in $100,000 towards somebody's dream $500,000 retreat, no. And if my work that I accomplish with my tools is not worth counting as a worthy contribution on that, then I really don't want anything to do with the group. Okay, if my work has no value, or if it has only nominal subsistence level value, and this is what I brought to the table, or what we bring to the table as you know, the 2 or 3 people I might roll with, that if that doesn't count, we're gone. We're not going to get involved. Okay. Because the thing is, as soon as I go someplace and start fixing something up, I know their real estate starts being worth more money. Okay. And one thing I'm really hesitant to pay on any of those situations is rent. Okay. John Wesley Lawls talks about this in some of his stuff where it was no rent, no wages. I understand the no wages part, you know, because you can't necessarily just be carrying money away from people's situation all the time, especially in a crisis or shit hit the fan. But emergency relief workers do get paid. They volunteer to go and work and get paid. Okay, they're not necessarily volunteering to work for free. I do volunteer to work for free with some people in some situations, but you know what? Tools cost money. These chainsaws, you know, I almost have to buy another tool just to get a battery for these things. Chains cost money. Blades cost money. Okay, so even if I'm working at minimum wage, and I'm hauling my rig out there and I'm using all this stuff, I'm actually losing money. I'm losing if I work at minimum wage, because maintenance costs and upkeep and replacing small lost items or use up items, you know, drill bits and stuff, it costs money. It adds up. I start drilling holes in concrete and using these concrete drills. You know, this was given to me, but you know what? I found out that for me to go and purchase one of these replacement concrete bits is like a couple $100. And you know, so if I agree to go out and do that at minimum wage or subsistence only, I'm losing unless I'm getting some other level of satisfaction, like I'm really helping out some people that I really believe in. Then I'll go and do it. Okay. If I really believe in it, I have to. If somebody's going to be an asshole to me, I'm obviously not going to believe in it. If somebody, I find out that they don't really support my rights, I'm out of there. And that's one of the reasons I've decided that my rig is mobile. But that's me, okay? People, you have fixed survival locations that are not mobile. I understand it entirely, because part of what I do, and I'm not joking with my channel name, Force Multiplier, I'm not there to be the main force for anything, okay? I'm not. I'm there to help multiply what's already there by adding and enhancing the skills, the skill pool, the resource pool, the infrastructure pool. I only go in as a force multiplier. I don't go in as the main guy. Okay, I'm not even trying to do that. I'm not trying to stroke my ego that way. I'm not trying to be anybody's grand poobah leader. But if I believe in something, I believe in what somebody's doing, I go in as a force multiplier. And engineer assets. I was a combat engineer for a while in the Army National Guard, in addition to my active duty time in the Marine Corps. And I'll be honest with you, I was better as a combat engineer than I was as a grunt. I can do the grunt stuff. I was pretty good as a weapons instructor on the belt-fed stuff. But you know what? There's not a lot of belt-fed stuff out there. It's a very unique skill set. Anybody who thinks that, oh, it's just like shooting a semi-auto, but it goes faster, no. No, belt-feds are their own world, okay? Mortars are their own world. And I was an instructor on the belt-feds, and that's what I do. But there's not many of those around. And so all these tactical carbine guys, where there's a lot of those guys around, I got the basic certifications, you know, basic NRA instructor certifications on that stuff, but I'm getting older, I'm getting a little slower. I'm not going to try to be the main guy on that stuff. Yeah, but as far as being a force multiplier with an engineer asset, that's what I bring to the table. And a whole lot of knowledge and a whole lot of telling other people what to do. If there's one fucking thing I really don't need a hell of a lot of on a survival situation, is some know-it-all, do-nothing person who's going to have their hands on her hip, commenting and telling me and second-guessing and Monday morning quarterbacking every damn little thing I'm doing. Okay, actually, there's a lot of people don't really appreciate that. Now, if somebody's hiring me to do something and it's their money and their situation, and I'm getting paid to do things for them basically their way, because that's the way they've designed it, that's the way they know they want it to work, then that's cool. But you know, and there are times that I'm working on something that I kind of do want to have an outside expert in. There's some automotive related stuff where, even though I have automotive training, I bring other people in on that. So we'll do another try on this video.